In this video, we will present how to create and submit a list of intended studies, and to receive the renewal pre-submission advice following the latest digital enhancement. With the digital enhancement release of July 2022, the Connect EFSA now allows the potential applicant to create a pre-application ID for the renewal application, and to create and submit a list of intended studies as a separate object. Step 1. Create the pre-application ID and the list of intended studies. Only potential applicants can create a pre-application ID and submit a list of intended studies for renewal. The first step is to get a pre-application ID, including all the required information regarding your future application. By selecting a food domain and an application type related to a renewal application, the system activates the list of intended studies function. In this example, we will demonstrate how to fill in the form, in the case of the renewal application for a feed additive. These indications are valid also for renewal applications in other areas. Once you have created the pre-application ID, indicate the former application ID of the application you intend to renew, and proceed with the creation of the list of intended studies. Now, when the list of intended studies is created, you are redirected to a section where you find two tabs. The first one, dedicated to the intended studies, and the second, containing details of your submission. Use the New Intended Study button to create all the intended studies you want to submit. Submitted studies will be then displayed in the table Intended Studies. While the list of intended studies is in draft status, you can edit all the records of the intended studies present in your list, or notify them according to Article 32b. To notify an intended study, select one study from the list, and use the mass conversion button to transform the intended study into a draft, notifiable study. When the status of the list of intended studies is draft, the converted intended study will be deleted from the list. The draft study will be moved to the Study Notification section at the right side of the Pre-application ID page. A list of intended studies in draft status can also be deleted. Step 2. Submit the list of intended studies. When the list of intended studies for renewal is complete, click on the Submit List button. The status bar on the top of the page will change from draft to submitted. When the status of your list is marked as submitted, further actions are not allowed. For example, creating additional intended studies, notifying the intended study records present in the list, or deleting the entire list will not be possible. Step 3. Administrative check and clarification needed. After the submission, EFSA will perform the administrative check of the information contained in the list of intended studies. You might be asked to provide clarifications. In this case, the status changes to clarification needed, and you will find comments in EFSA comments box under the Details tab of your list. Based on the comments and the instruction provided by EFSA, you can amend the information in your list. At this stage, if there are studies that can no longer be considered as intended, it is possible to convert such intended studies to notifiable draft studies and proceed with the notification according to Article 32b. This can happen, for example, because a study has been commissioned and it is going to start. After you have provided all the necessary amendments, you must submit the list again. When the administrative check is completed, the status changes to Administrative Check Completed, and no further modifications to the list are allowed. If you need to notify a study according to Article 32b, you can do so by creating a new study from the pre-application ID. Step 4. Public consultation. Within 10 working days from the completion of the administrative check, EFSA will launch a public consultation on the submitted intended studies. The status bar now changes to Undergoing Public Consultation. The public consultation will last for 3 calendar weeks. When the status of your list is marked Undergoing Public Consultation, it is not possible to perform further actions such as adding further intended studies, notifying the intended study records, converting an intended study in the list, or deleting the entire list. It remains possible, at any stage, to notify a study according to Article 32b, by creating a new study from the pre-application ID. Step 5. Renewal pre-submission advice. After the closure of the public consultation, EFSA will provide you with the renewal pre-submission advice in 30 working days, taking into account the comments received during the public consultation. The status is marked as in progress. Step 6. Closure. After the process of the renewal pre-submission advice is concluded, the status bar changes to closed. Now, you can notify all the intended studies you will use in support of your future renewal application. If you are going to commission all intended studies, then you can use the mass conversion button from the List tab and select which studies you need to convert. You can find the renewal pre-submission advice and the summary under the List tab of the List of Intended Studies page. We hope that you find this video useful.